Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Hi, this is Kendra Adachi from the Lazy Genius podcast, and I am so excited that the new KFC chicken nuggets are here. You have never had nuggets like these before. 100% white meat, hand-breaded in KFC's original recipe, and absolutely delicious. They have become a go-to favorite the kids love to fight over, and I hope they make dinner easier and more fun for you too. Order new Kentucky Fried Chicken Nuggets, now available at participating KFCs near you.
Your pets love it outside. Know who else does? Bugs, ticks, fleas, mosquitoes. They get on your furry ones, family, and on your nerves. Spray the bugs away with Wondercide's lab-proven plant-powered lineup for pets, family, home, and yard. Wondercide pest protection sprays exceed the same effectiveness standards required for conventional products, harnessing the power of nature to do the job. Wondercide, it's all good. And just for our listeners, get 20% off on Wondercide.com with coupon code PODCAST. That's WonderCIDE.com.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of Cognitive Recalibration. I'm your host, Shravan, and I've got co-host Taran here again.
It's me, Taran, again.
Yeah, it's us again.
Yeah.
You're not going to get rid of us that quickly.
No surprises there.
Thanks to everyone that listened to the first episode. We got some feedback from people we know that listened to the first episode, so we'll try to implement it in this one. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're doing an MCU ranking, 19 to 11, and then next week you'll get our top 10 ranking. But before we start, there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. So Avengers Infinity War, it's made quite a lot of money around the world. So I think it's going to be the fastest movie to $1 billion. I think you'll make it within this weekend. Probably still won't beat Force Awakens overall.
It beat it on the first weekend.
The opening weekend.
It's got the highest opening weekend.
Yeah. I don't think overall it will. Well, it depends on how it does in China. So China, it hasn't opened yet. It's opening on the 11th of May. And if it does really well there, it might
beat Force Awakens.
At least get close to Force Awakens. But the difference between Force Awakens and this is that came out during Christmas or the December period, and it didn't really have much competition.
So Deadpool's coming out
in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so
and then Han Solo.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really have a clear run. So it's really just this weekend and the next weekend. And then after that, it will probably fall to second place after Deadpool comes out.
Yeah.
The other thing was, very quickly, Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer. They released another one this week.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. Did you watch it?
I did, yeah. I watched it this morning.
Okay, I watched it like the day it came out. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it looks pretty good, but they didn't mention Infinity War at all. So it looks like it's definitely before Infinity War.
Yeah.
Like it's a contained story, so hopefully the stakes... My only issue with it is if we've just watched Infinity War where the stakes are really high, and then if you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp where it's just these two guys just fighting some random criminal that's money from trying to do a heist or something. So the stakes might not be high, but maybe it will be just a fun, contained film. But let's see.
From what I saw in the trailer, maybe everything that they show in the trailer is from the first part of the movie, and then in the second part of the movie they go into the quantum realm. It might be a contained story in the quantum realm where the stakes are high, but you don't know what's going out around in the outside world. So it could be that Infinity War is happening in the outside world while they're in the quantum realm.
Possibly, yeah. That was what I thought might happen too. And they still haven't shown Hank Pym's wife yet.
Yeah.
Who's in the movie. So maybe they're just saving that for the movie. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any more trailers after
There might
this.
be one more.
I guess we'll start on the ranking. The way we'll do it is I'll do so it's 19 movies. So I'll do 19 to 15.
Yep.
And then you can do 19 to 15. And then we'll do 14 to 10 and so on until we get to 1.
Sounds good.
So have you got your ranking?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it to see if it's right. I did this like ages ago. Yeah, it looks all right.
Okay. Just for our listeners, I guess this is just our opinions. But I believe mine is the definitive ranking of MCU films. So if anyone disagrees, you're wrong.
I hear your one's a bit... Well, you said your one's a bit out there.
Yeah, I don't think...
my one's stock standard, basically, but...
I didn't look at IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or
I didn't either.
any of that.
Yep.
It's purely just what I came up with, and it wasn't easy because I probably like all of these movies.
I like all the movies. Yeah. Even 19, I do like.
If someone was watching it or like it was just on TV, I'd probably still watch all of these. They've done a really good job in that sense because I don't think there's a single bad movie.
None of them are bad. I reckon there's probably like 10 great movies in it. So
yeah, and once we get to the top 5, I think that's when pretty much all of them are interchangeable for me.
Yeah, same. I basically did mine in terms of which movies I'd like to rewatch and like watch more times. That's kind of how I ranked it rather than which one has
the
like the
good
best
movie,
cinematography or something.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah, so it's the movies that I would like to watch more often than not. So we're not just going to do a ranking. We got a bit of trivia. So I've got some trivia questions and I've got some facts about these movies that I will mention as I go through my list. And I believe that you're going to challenge me with some...
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you about Stan Lee cameos and end credit scenes and see if you can guess them.
Okay, yeah,
so
let's see.
When I do my list, will I ask you the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So when you do yours, you can ask me, and when I do mine, I will ask you. So
okay.
My number 19, probably not everyone's number 19, but Iron Man 3. I'll tell you why I think this is my... It can be a bit surprising, but... I just didn't like that Mandarin twist because it's Iron Man's main villain. So it's like Batman and the Joker is Iron Man and the Mandarin. So they've pretty much just made just imagine a Batman movie and this whole movie, you've seen Joker being menacing and then at the end you find out it's just some random guy that's acting as the Joker and it's just some other guy that you've seen throughout the movie, but he's nothing like the Joker. He's just this other guy that's completely different character. So that's how I felt about this movie. And no matter what I think, just forget about that. Just watch the movie as it is. I just can't get that out of my mind. So that's why.
It's fair enough, yeah.
I like some parts of it. So I like the parts where Tony Stark is again without his suit and he has to use his intellect to get out of situations. But overall, if I had a choice to watch any MCU film, this would probably be the last one I would watch.
Have you seen the Marvel one-shot where they reveal that there is an actual Mandarin out there?
Yeah, but is that canon or did they just do that after this movie came out?
I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever actually do anything about it, but I think they just did it after the movie came out, to be honest. It was a problem for a lot of people, that twist. Yeah. So it's fair enough.
But I did like Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, even though he wasn't actually the Mandarin.
Yeah.
But when he was acting as the Mandarin, I thought he was really good. Guy Pearce, he was good, but his motivation was a bit suspect. Just because you left him on a rooftop on New Year's Eve and he didn't turn up, he spends his whole life trying to pretty much destroy Tony Stark's life. There's some things that I really don't enjoy about this movie, but I still like it and I still watch it. I thought the end credit scene was a bit disappointing because this is the first movie that came after Avengers, the first Avengers. So I thought there might be something that leads into what they're going for in phase 2, but there wasn't. It was just him talking to Banner. So the whole movie is just him narrating this story to Bruce Banner. My number 18 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is another one that I'm going to get a lot of hate for.
I disagree with you on this one a lot. But
I know the majority of people really like this movie. I liked it, but I went into this movie expecting a lot. I really liked the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was a really good movie because it focused on the characters, but it also linked into the overall MCU. And there was something you saw Thanos, and you saw that Gamora is Thanos' daughter, and there was an Infinity Stone in the first movie as well. So Guardians of the Galaxy are pretty random characters if you don't link them into the MCU.
They're really obscure.
Yeah, so
even in the comics before the movie came out, there were obscure characters. Not many people knew about them.
I just feel like they needed to link in a little bit more to their overall story. That was just I think I went in with the wrong expectations, so I was going to be disappointed with this movie. But there's a lot of this movie where just nothing happens. Peter Quill's just sitting on his couch and...
It's a pretty contained story that doesn't... I wouldn't say there's a lot of story. It's more of a heartfelt kind of...
I just didn't feel like they needed to explain Peter Quill's powers. I thought it was good that it was a bit of a mystery. The way they did it in this movie, you find out that he's got these powers because his father was Ego, the living planet, and then at the end of the movie, he loses those powers. So he's just this normal guy again. It was a bit inconsequential in the end, I felt. So that's why it ranks below a lot of movies. I've only seen it a couple of times, and the first time I watched it in the cinema, and I walked out disappointed, and the second time I couldn't actually get through it. But it might have just been a bad movie.
Yeah, I'll talk about it later.
I missed out on the Iron Man 3 trivia for you, so
trivia.
I'll ask you that first.
Yeah.
How many suits does Tony make before the end of Iron Man 3?
Before the end?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hard. It's just a random number. I know it's a lot. I think it's like... So, just how many suits he has?
Yes.
Can you give me a ballpark?
Well, if you think about his Mark numbers, you'll figure it out.
I think in Avengers he has like Mark 50 or something. Doesn't he?
No.
No?
No.
Is it 70?
No. So it's 42. So
42.
His Mark 42 is, I think, his...
The last... Oh, is Mark 42 the one that connects to his body? Like the one that comes in
Yeah,
parts?
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And the question I had for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, who is Peter Quill's mother? Like, what's her name?
Peter Quill's mother.
You see her at the start.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure her name is mentioned.
Yeah, it is. Kurt Russell calls her Lily Flower or something, which is probably not...
No, that's not her name.
That's not her actual name?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God for her. It starts with C, doesn't it?
No.
Okay, then I don't know it.
It's Meredith Quill?
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't going to get that.
Yeah. You're not doing too well so far. So
yeah, well, these are random. Like, who remembers how... Well, the Iron Man suits one, probably someone remembers.
Yeah.
And probably someone remembers that as well.
Yeah.
No, but
Okay.
they're not important to me.
Number 17, Iron Man 2.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
A lot of people don't like this movie, but I think it's okay. I like this F1 scene in Monaco. That's
The suit change part in that is really
I like
awesome.
that scene. Tony Stark's, he's not a superhero really. He's more of a...
Just like a normal guy.
Well, he's not normal either. I think he's an intellect, and basically his superpower is his intellect, like the way he uses intelligence as a weapon. And I think in this movie you see that again when he has to create that. It's a bit...
The new arc reactor.
Yeah, the new arc reactor. And there's just this part when Jarvis is like, oh, you've created a new element, where I always like, I always smile. Because it's a bit lame.
But that scene's cool though, where he creates a new element. It's got the Iron Man shield in it as well.
And for me, like, there's this part where he's trying to figure out what's going on and how to, like, fix his arc reactor because it's infecting his body and slowly killing him. And he's looking at equations. He's looking at these, like, maths equations, like integrals and stuff. And for me, because I did engineering and I did stats, so that kind of thing really appeals to me. So
You like looking at people looking at equations.
Well, I feel like there's a chance for me because there's a superhero that's good at maths.
Yeah, but he's like really good at maths.
Yeah, it's definitely better than me. But it gives me hope one day. The trivia I had for this is, in Iron Man 2, what supposedly bunker-busting smart missile fizzled when War Machine tried to use it?
Oh, I know this. The ex-wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remembered that. I can't believe you remembered that. Okay, number 16 is The Incredible Hulk. I like this movie. I think there's a lot of good parts in it. Basically, all the parts where he hulks out is really good. So I like the whole introduction in Brazil.
That like spawned all these movies where there's running on rooftops in Brazil, like in Fast and Furious as well. It was like the first movie that did that.
I like, so all the parts where he hulks out. There's a part where he goes to the library and he's like trying to hide a USB key or something and he hulks out and then the whole army is there trying to kill him. When I first watched it, I thought they'd get him, blasting sound waves into him and stuff. And then he like figures out a way, like he gets the door of a car and uses it as a shield and like he chucks it at the tank and it like blows up the tank.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool action scene. And I feel like they set up the Hulk pretty well because the Hulk can be a bit of a depressing character because when he's by himself, he's just like, because he can't like meet anyone. He's just all depressed. So I think they did it well. And Edward Norton, I actually like him as the Hulk. I guess Mark Ruffalo is probably better as the Hulk now because he's been in so many more movies, but I thought he was a pretty good introductory Hulk. A lot of people don't like it because maybe the actor got switched out, but I think it's a pretty solid movie. I've got a fact and a trivia question. I'll go the fact first. Apparently there was a deleted scene for this movie where It was meant to be the first scene of the movie where Bruce Banner is pretty much going to commit suicide. So he got a gun and he's going to shoot himself in the head. And before he shoots himself in the head, apparently turns into the Hulk and he can't. And this is referenced in the Avengers. When Banner says, I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out. So that was going to be the first scene of The Incredible Hulk, but they didn't do it because they thought it'd be way too dark to start a movie.
Yeah.
Where someone's going to commit suicide.
That's more DC Universe territory. They'll start with that, and the other guy actually doesn't spit out. He just dies.
Yeah.
Twist starting. Yeah.
And the trivia question for you is, what is the Abomination's real name?
Sergeant. Was it Colonel? Sergeant?
I don't need that part. I just need his name.
I know the actor's name. I'm trying to think. Nah, don't know.
Emil Blonsky.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. Yeah.
And I also like the Abomination in this movie. I like the fight at the end as well. And there is links to Captain America in this movie as well. The super soldier.
Because, basically they're trying to recreate that to make the Hulk. Well, not to make the Hulk. They want to make Captain America, but they accidentally make the Hulk.
Make the Hulk, yeah.
Well, my 19's The Incredible Hulk, which we just talked about.
But why is it your last?
So, I do like this movie. There's definitely parts that I enjoy. The parts with the Abomination especially. The last fight scene's really awesome. But it's just a bit boring, to be honest. The CG on the Hulk isn't that great as well. It's a bit too cartoony, which they got a lot better afterwards in Avengers. And also, Edward Norton's pretty good in the role. Mark Ruffalo, I think, is much better though. But Edward Norton looks a bit too clean cut to be the Hulk. But Mark Ruffalo looks like he's been like living on the streets and like...
Yeah, but I think in this movie, he hadn't been the Hulk for that long.
So overall, it's still a good movie. It's just not one that I would go back and watch just because it doesn't have the actor that plays the Hulk anymore. No real connection to the Marvel Universe.
That's what we thought until Civil War came out, and then they included...
but even without watching that, you can still kind of see. Yeah.
I also like the part, I didn't mention it, but I like the part at the end where you actually see him controlling his powers. But they never really reference that again. It still looks like he can't control the Hulk. But at the end of that movie, they kind of hint that he can control it. And in the Avengers, it looks like he's
got it. Yeah, he's got it.
But it kind of goes backwards again, where he can't in Age of Ultron.
So he's a bit back and forth with whether he can control his powers at the moment.
Yeah.
So the parts I really do like is the Abomination, and I'm actually secretly hoping they bring the Abomination back at some point with Tim Roth, which would be awesome if they did. And
there's hope because they've brought back spoilers for Infinity War, but they brought back Red Skull. So yeah.
So I think Abomination would be a really good character to bring back. So hopefully they do that at some point. Can you name the Stan Lee cameo?
Yes, I can. So I remember this very clearly.
Well, this one's an easy one because the Stan Lee cameo and the end credit scene are like really memorable.
Yes. Yeah. So I kind of forgot the end credit scene.
I should ask you that one.
Yeah. Stan Lee cameo is this man drink. So Bruce Banner's working in this factory where they make these green flavors.
It's like this energy drink or something.
Yeah, energy drinks. Yeah. And then that's exported to America, I'm guessing. And Stan Lee's this person
old guy.
Happened to buy this bottle that had a drop of Bruce Banner's blood in it. And he drinks it and he faints. And
he dies.
Yeah. I don't. Does he die?
He dies.
Oh,
yeah.
He dies.
That's why they find out he died.
Oh. Okay.
And then they come and get him.
They track him back. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I remember that I gave you a very detailed explanation. You don't even need to watch the movie.
That was real detailed. Yeah. And credit scene's pretty good as well. That's where Tony Stark comes back in
and talks to Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 is 18.
Yes.
Is Iron Man 2, which is also not a bad movie. There's really good parts. I like the F1 scene as well. And I like the suit change with the suitcase that he does in that scene. The villain's pretty weak. Both villains are really weak in this movie, to be honest. They're not great. You would agree.
I kind of like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like them, but they're not like that villainous. They're more comedic than... Yeah.
There's that funny part when the two villains are talking.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The other guy?
Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, what's his character's name again?
Hammer.
Yeah, Justin Hammer. He's like, I want to take a shit on Tony Stark's front yard.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, I can arrange that.
Yeah.
That just makes this movie for me for some reason. That one line is... I'll go back and watch that one line over and over. And also the end fight scene's actually pretty good in this movie. With War Machine and Iron Man. Other than that, the rest of it's just like set up for Avengers, and yeah, it just doesn't feel that great. Number 17, this is a movie that you really like for some reason, but not that many people actually do like. Thor: The Dark World.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's an alright movie. I've only seen it like twice, but it's not something I want to see over and over again. And mostly because they do play most of the parts for comedy, and there's not much serious stuff that goes on in the movie. And not all the comedy's actually that funny to me. Yeah, it doesn't stick that often. And also the villain is definitely worst villain in the MCU by far, because does he talk?
Yeah, he talks.
Yeah, he's just so forgettable, and he doesn't do much. And the comic character is actually a really good character, which is a shame because they could have done a lot more with him. So there's not many things that I do like about it, but the action...
It all started with Mom. She's always had a way of making everyday moments feel like an adventure. So this Mother's Day, Kate Spade New York is here to help you thank Mom and all the mother figures in your life. From our newest arrivals, like springy dragonfly-adorned handbags and jewelry, to gifts under $100, to the best sellers on Mom's Most Wanted list, there's something for everyone. Maybe you can even treat yourself, too. Shop the Mother's Day gift guide at katespade.com.
Hi, this is Kendra Adachi from the Lazy Genius podcast, and I am so excited that the new KFC chicken nuggets are here. You have never had nuggets like these before. 100% white meat, hand-breaded in KFC's original recipe, and absolutely delicious. They have become a go-to favorite the kids love to fight over, and I hope they make dinner easier and more fun for you too. Order new Kentucky Fried Chicken nuggets, now available at participating KFCs near you.
Your pets love it outside. Know who else does? Bugs, ticks, fleas, mosquitoes. They get on your furry ones, family, and on your nerves. Spray the bugs away with Wondercide's lab-proven plant-powered lineup for pets, family, home, and yard. Wondercide pest protection sprays exceed the same effectiveness standards required for conventional products, harnessing the power of nature to do the job. Wondercide, it's all good. And just for our listeners, get 20% off on Wondercide.com with coupon code PODCAST. That's WonderCIDE.com.
Scenes are really good, and I think Thor's fighting is much better in this than it is
Thor
in
1.
Thor 1. Yeah. Number 16 is Iron Man 3 as well. I like it better than Iron Man 2, and I like it more than you like it. I don't really mind the Mandarin, the twist. I kind of like, what's his name? Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery. It's kind of funny. I know it's not ideal, but it's pretty funny, and it's good to see Iron Man working without his suit, basically. The kid part is really annoying for me. I don't enjoy it. I hate that kid. I know why. And the suit's pretty cool, how it like comes to him. But it's very useless in terms of it comes to him, but someone hits him once and it all
breaks
falls
off,
apart.
yeah.
So it's like, what's even the point of this? But it was pretty cool to watch. Also, the whole thing, how he destroys these suits at the end of this movie and he stops being Iron Man, it's inconsequential in the universe because in the end he starts making them again and it's never kind of explained. So it doesn't really fit in well with the timeline. But yeah, it's an alright movie. I forgot to ask you about end credit scenes for those three, did I? So for Iron Man 2, what's the end credit scene?
Oh my god, I can't remember this. Oh yeah, it's Thor.
Yeah,
Thor's hammer?
It's Thor's hammer in the ground.
Yeah.
For Thor: The Dark World, what is the Stan Lee cameo?
Ooh.
This one's a pretty hard one.
What is the Stan Lee cameo? I'm trying to think now. I actually can't remember this one.
Yeah, I had to look this one up. I didn't remember it. Do you know in the mental hospital that...
Yes, okay, now I remember it. Yeah, it's he's like the professor.
Yeah.
He's in the mental asylum, or it looks like he's in an old age home because everyone else is old. But Stanley's there and he's trying to explain the convergence with the shoes.
And Stanley's like, can I have my shoe back?
It's like, do you get that? And he's like, no, and can I have my shoe back?
Iron Man 3, what is Stanley's cameo?
Oh man, this one I definitely can't remember. Because I haven't watched this movie for a while.
Yeah. You don't know?
No.
He's a beauty pageant judge.
Oh, yeah.
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 I think it's in the flashback scene.
No, it's in the present.
Is it in the present?
Yeah, it's in the
I
present.
don't remember that one either.
For some reason, like, he's driving around country towns and...
He goes to a beauty pageant?
No, he, like, drives past a beauty pageant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he,
Yeah.
like, gets in a TV van or something.
Yeah. All right. Those were my
19 to 16?
19 to 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're up to 15 to 11. So my 15 is Thor: The Dark World, which we just talked about.
Yes.
I enjoy the comedy in this movie. I think it's all right. It's a fun time. There is an Infinity Stone involved, so I think the stakes are there. And the villain is probably the worst villain.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed Thor in this movie. He comes back to Earth, and they do reference the Avengers sometimes as well. So you understand that it's a post-Avengers universe. So yeah, I did enjoy the Kat Dennings comedy. I think it's okay.
Kat Dennings, yeah.
And Natalie Portman's all right, I guess.
Apparently she did want to be there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked Loki in this movie. I think Loki was really good.
One of the best parts
Yeah.
of that movie.
Yeah, I think he pretty much makes the movie. And I like the part where he turns into Captain America briefly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just a brief cameo.
Not much else to say, but it's probably higher on my list than a lot of other people's lists. I've got a fact about this movie, or not just this movie actually, Phase 2. Did you know that there was a tribute to Empire Strikes Back throughout Phase 2?
Someone's hand in every single movie.
Yeah, so basically, if you watch all the Phase 2 movies, there's a part where someone's hand gets chopped off in every single movie. So in Thor: The Dark World, doesn't actually get his hand chopped off, but Loki makes it look like Thor's arm is chopped off. There's a part in Iron Man 3 where the
Mandarin gets his hand chopped off.
Yeah, gets his hand chopped off.
Not Mandarin,
but
Aldrich Killian.
Yeah, who's supposedly the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Basically, see it in every movie. There's a part in Age of Ultron when Claw
gets his hand
chopped off. And
what other movies are Phase 2?
Guardians?
Guardians.
Yeah, there's a part where Nebula cuts off her hand. There's a video on YouTube where they show you every single hand chopping scene.
Yeah.
So, and it was confirmed by Kevin Feige that it was actually on purpose. So apparently it was a compliment to George Lucas, without whom the MCU would likely not exist today. That was Kevin Feige's.
Yeah, Kevin Feige loves the Star Wars universe. He actually made a reference to them in the 10-year anniversary thing as well. Because when Star Wars had the 10-year anniversary, they had the same kind of logo that the Marvel movies put up.
My number 14 is Doctor Strange. I like this movie, but on rewatch, there isn't that much there. It is better than probably all the other movies I've gone through on the list so far, but it's just a stock standard origin story.
I agree. In terms of the first time you watch it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and the visuals are really good, but
yeah.
The story itself, there isn't that much there, and it doesn't feel like he's training for that long, like maybe like a couple of months. It feels like
he's training for like a week, but apparently it's like a couple years.
Yeah, apparently. So like he gets good pretty quickly, it seems like. Maybe that's just his character, like he picks up things really quickly.
Yeah.
Trivia for this movie is, what is the Wi-Fi password that Carl Mordo hands to Doctor Strange?
It is... Shambhala?
Yeah.
Shambhala?
Yeah, Shambhala.
Yeah.
So that is a mythical kingdom in the Hindu and Tibetan tradition, and it is said to be laid out in precisely the same form as an 8-petaled lotus blossom surrounded by a chain of snow mountains. At the center lies the palace of the king of Shambhala, who governed from the city called Kalapa. So apparently in the Doctor Strange comics, that's where the Ancient One is from. So maybe this Ancient One is from there as well, or she went there to train or something. So that's the reference.
Fair enough.
My number 13 is Ant-Man.
Yep.
I enjoy this movie, but for what it is, like, it's not going to be... I don't think anyone was expecting it to be like the best movie ever. So it was good.
A lot of people were expecting it to be shit, to be honest.
So it was good. Like, there was more of a lighter tone, so there was a bit of comedy, and I like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, and the casting's pretty good. Casting's pretty good across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good, and apparently this was meant to be made by Edgar Wright, but he had creative differences, so he left the project and got taken up by another director. But it feels like it's the same vision. Like, it doesn't feel like it's been chopped up or anything.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how far through Edgar Wright was before he had to leave, so I don't know if he wrote the whole script. I think he just gets a writing credit.
Yeah, he gets a writing credit. Yeah. They've set up the character well, so it's it's another decent origin story, and he plays a much bigger part in, or not bigger part, but you see what the character can do in Civil War. how he improves.
He hasn't really played a big part in anything yet.
Anything, yeah. Number 12, this is another one that's probably a lot higher on everyone's list, especially since it's a more recent one, and that's Black Panther.
Ooh, that's shocking. That's shocking.
So I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
You're going to get hated on for this.
Yeah, but there's just...
Which number is this? Number 12?
12, yeah, it's number 12.
It
didn't even make my 10 because there's just not that much in there for me. So the best part is the villain. So the best part is Killmonger. I like the casting. Everything's good, but there's nothing that great for me in this movie. They do everything well. There's nothing that stands out as being bad, but it's just not as exciting as some of the other movies, I feel. And they did the origin. It's not really an origin story because his origin was in Civil War. But I like how they show Wakanda, and they delve into it much more than they probably did for like Asgard, for example. But for me, all the movies that are above this on my list, I'd probably watch them ahead of this movie. And you know some of the ones that I haven't mentioned so far, so you're probably going to hate me even more now.
Yeah,
so...
I'm looking at some of the ones you still haven't mentioned. I'm like, that ended up higher than that. So I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
The action was a little bit disappointing in this movie because a lot of it's in the dark, so you don't really get to see all of it. So that was another thing that I didn't like as much. But overall, it's still a good movie, and I'd still watch it again, but not above the ones that I have from 11 to 1. Got another fact about this movie. Apparently the language they speak is a real language. It's Xhosa, like Xhosa. They speak it in South Africa. It's one of the official languages of South Africa. So they adapted that language as the Wakandan language.
I think the accent that Chadwick Boseman does was actually a mixture of South African accents that he made up himself. Yeah.
And everyone else had to learn that accent. And I had a fact about Ant-Man as well. Evangeline Lilly, who portrays Hope Van Dyne in Ant-Man, or is going to be the Wasp, she was actually meant to be in the MCU much before that. She was meant to be in Avengers. Avengers.
Joss Whedon wanted the Wasp in Avengers, and he wanted someone else. Do you know Ironmonger in Iron Man? He wanted his son.
Oh, okay. His son.
In Avengers as well, but Kevin Feige said no to both of those.
It makes sense because it probably would have been a bit more crowded with
too many people.
Yeah. My number 11 is Thor. I actually really enjoy this movie, and I enjoy it even more now because of where they've taken Thor after this movie. So they've just the evolution. So with Ragnarok and then Infinity War. So this movie is probably better in hindsight after all these movies. And I just like how they had the fish out of water with Thor, like on Earth. I liked all that. Some people didn't like it. They wanted more of Asgard, but we got more of that over the three Thor movies. We eventually got more of Asgard in the three Thor movies. And I like the casting in this movie. So Tom Hiddleston as Loki was really good. Chris Hemsworth as Thor has been really good. And Anthony Hopkins as Odin was also really good. The fact or the trivia, it's not really trivia.
Is it trivia?
No, it's a fact. Right. There's a part in the movie where it's just before Thor gets cast out to Earth, and Odin's telling him that he's unworthy. And then Loki tries to like say something, and then Odin's like, he just like growls. He's like, ah. Yeah. Apparently that was improvised.
Yeah.
And Tom Hiddleston didn't even know about it. So like, you see his actual reaction in the movie. Yeah. And I used to laugh at that part even before I knew it was improvised. But now it's even funnier. Okay. So what is your...
What am I up to? I'm up to 15.
Yeah,
15
to 11.
Well, this one hasn't even ended up on your list yet. So I've got Captain America,
first
one, which is an okay movie. I like Red Skull. I like Chris Evans. I pretty much like everything in this movie. It's like a good movie. It's just, there's not much in there for a rewatch value. And it's set so far before the MCU that none of it really matters anymore. But it has the Tesseract, the Infinity Stone and everything. But other than that, none of it really matters. I'm glad they brought Red Skull back in Infinity War though, because I really like that character.
And he's one of the main villains in Marvel.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, my favorite thing about this movie is Red Skull, and they've brought him back anyway. So, but other than that, not much rewatch value there. Then 14. Oh wait, let's do a Stan Lee cameo for Captain America.
I think it's like a general or something, like someone in the army, and he's sitting there, and they're going to introduce Captain America like when he was like an entertainer. And some other guy walks out because Captain America leaves to find Bucky or something. And he's like, I thought it'd be taller. Yeah. And another fun fact, the guy who's sitting the guy who Stan Lee tells that to, He played Captain America in the 90s Captain America movie.
In that shitty TV show. No, was it a movie or a TV show?
The movie. It was a movie, yeah.
You actually nailed it. He was a general, so good work on that one. 14 is Thor, the first Thor.
So okay.
Yeah, which is also a good movie. I like that. I know a lot of people don't like that he came out of Asgard, but I do like that as well. And I like all the casting. The fight scene at the end with the Destroyer is really good as well.
Yes.
Even though the town looks really fake. It's like
it's
like a 2-block town in the middle of nowhere. It just looks really fake. Chris Hemsworth's eyebrows are dyed blonde.
Yeah, that's a bit
weird. Which is really weird.
Yeah.
Other than that, solid movie. Probably not going to rewatch it again.
And they set up Loki really well as well.
Loki's awesome in this. Do you realize that Loki dies at like the end of every movie he's in?
Yeah, so he supposedly dies at the end of this one, but he doesn't. He doesn't die at the end of Avengers, and then he's supposed to die at the end of Thor: The Dark World, but he doesn't. And Ragnarok is still alive.
Ragnarok is still alive, but he dies in Avengers. Well, we'll see. 13, I've got another one that you haven't said yet, Age of Ultron, which is, I think it's a bit of a rehash of Avengers 1 in terms of just the setup and the fight scenes and everything like that. Ultron's a really good character and they could have done a lot more with it, and what they did with it was just a bit boring. I think he's a good villain, but he's just not that menacing. A lot of parts of this movie were played for comedy as well, which wasn't as funny as I thought it could be. I like Scarlet Witch's addition. She was a good character. Quicksilver's,
he dies.
He's okay. Yeah, he dies.
Spoiler alert, but yeah. That's why they killed him off, because he's a bit boring.
Really good part in this movie is actually Hawkeye. I actually like his arc in this movie. Well, it's not really an arc, but you see his family and stuff. Well,
I guess that might lead into what happens next in MCU. Yeah.
And he talks shit to Scarlet Witch. It's pretty, Hawkeye's really good in this movie. Other than that, then fight scene, it's just a bunch of robots fighting the Avengers, and it should be cool, but it's not as cool as it should be for some reason. It just, Yeah,
the action wasn't as good in this one compared to the first
Avengers. And there's this really weird pool scene with Thor, which is a bit out of left field, where Thor jumps into a hot pool and basically rages on roids or something. I don't know what he's doing. He just starts yelling.
Yeah.
It's a weird scene. It's about the Infinity Stones, but it's not necessary. So 13, Age of Ultron. 12, Doctor Strange. Pretty much the same reasons that you said. I really liked it on the first viewing. It's a good origin story, and I thought it would be a really good rewatch. But when I did watch it again, I'm like, oh, this is a bit boring. There's not much to get out of the second watch. And 11, one that you have said but was really low on your one.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I actually rewatched recently. I hadn't watched it since we watched it in the theaters, but I rewatched it for Avengers Infinity War. And I actually really enjoyed it. It's one of the funnier movies in the MCU. And I know it's not connected to the Infinity Wars, or it's not a massive story, but it does expand on the characters. I think Rocket gets a really good story in this movie. Yondu is really good in this, and Peter Quill is also good. All the characters are really funny. It's probably one of the more funny movies in the MCU. I just enjoy rewatching it. I like the comedy in it, so that's why I rewatch it. You want to do the Stan Lee cameos?
Yes.
Or end credits?
You can pick. Yeah.
So we'll do did I do Thor? No, I did do Thor.
End credits or Stan Lee?
Let's do... The Stan Lee one's easy. Do the end credits.
End credits is Professor Selwig, or Dr. Selwig, and he's talking to Nick Fury about the Tesseract, and Loki's kind of controlling him, or they never really explain that.
That never gets explained. Yeah. I thought it was a really cool end credits, but it never gets explained after that, which is weird.
Or he's just there and he's listening or something.
Age of Ultron? Stan Lee cameo.
Thor gets some shots or something from he's got some special alcohol from Asgard.
Yes.
And he wants Captain America to try it, and he's like, oh, normal people can't try this. And then Stanley's he says something and he tries it, and then they show him getting carried out of the party.
Doctor Strange, Stan Lee cameo.
I watched this 2 days ago, so I'm not going to get this wrong. Yeah. But he's reading a book. I can't remember what it is, but it's not a funny book.
It's called The Doors of Perception.
Yeah, by Aldous
Huxley.
Yeah, that's not a comic novel by any means, but he's reading it and he's laughing at it,
Yeah.
And this is when all that mirror dimension stuff's
He's
going
in a
on.
bus, and then
Yeah.
Doctor Strange falls on the side of the
Yeah,
bus.
yeah.
And lastly, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
There's like 50 end credit scenes, so I'm not gonna
Do
through all
the
of that.
Stanley cameo.
The Stanley cameo is actually an end credit scene, isn't it?
Yes. It's one of the end
Yeah,
credit
it's
scenes.
a double whammy here.
Yeah.
So he's talking to the Watchers.
Yeah, and basically, it kind of links to everything that he's a Watcher informant. So
yeah,
it makes
that's
sense.
why he's in all the
He's
movies.
in all the movies
Yeah.
because he's observing everything that happens.
Yeah. So that is our 19 to 11. So we will do the top 10 in the next episode.
Yeah, so unfortunately you have to wait till next week to find the big guns in the top 10, but hopefully we've piqued your interest now, so you'll listen next week.
So what was your 19 to 11?
19 to 11, I'll just quickly run through it. Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World, Iron Man 3, Captain America, Thor, Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, and finally Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
And mine is Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor the Dark World, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Black Panther, and rounding it off at number 11 is Thor. So, yep, that is our list from 19 to 11. Join us next week for the top 10. We have an email on
cognitive recalibration podcast at gmail.com.
We'll have a Facebook page and a Twitter page.
By the time this video comes out, the Facebook page and Twitter page will be up. And yeah, we'd really appreciate if you could like it. If you want to tweet any questions at us or want to tell us to stop podcasting, then do it on the Twitter or the Facebook page.
And if you happen to like our podcast, recommend us to other people as well.
Yeah.
That might be into
Would
this
appreciate
sort of
a
stuff.
share if you want to.
So that'll be it for this week, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
See you.
Your pets love it outside. Know who else does? Bugs, ticks, fleas, mosquitoes. They get on your furry ones, family, and on your nerves. Spray the bugs away with Wondercide's lab-proven plant-powered lineup for pets, family, home, and yard. Wondercide Pest Protection sprays exceed the same effectiveness standards required for conventional products, harnessing the power of nature to do the job. Wondercide, it's all good. And just for our listeners, get 20% off on Wondercide.com with coupon code PODCAST. That's WonderCIDE.com.